Leaving, starting a new life, and departing with those who you have previously lived with. This is a situation for thousands of citizens around the globe who choose to leave their country for a better life. There are many key reasons that cause people to leave their home country, whether or not they have a choice. We have conducted our own research to find the answer to our driving question. Why do people immigrate, and what effect does it have on the person leaving their home country? To answer this driving question, we interviewed 3 people who have immigrated and asked them a series of questions about the process of immigrating to their new country.
Okay, so emigration, in my mind, is choosing to leave your home, your heart language, your customs, and your culture. And it could be for 2 reasons. Like for me, it was the love of another culture, the love of the language, the better weather.
Australians very much value travel as part of their cultural identity. They will go out 18 or 19. It's not uncommon just to spend a year, go to Europe, travel around Europe for a year, come back, and the university will hold their spot. Like it's just kind of accepted that let's hold a gap year. Or you might take a semester off, again, go abroad. And the idea is that, by experiencing other cultures and other beliefs, it makes you a better, well-rounded individual that you can then bring back and to enhance other parts of your professional and personal development.
My name is Alana Hout, and I was born in Kiev, Ukraine. At the time, it was part of the Soviet Union.
What would you say your definition of immigration is?
Immigration means so many different things for different people. For me, it was moving to another country, to a place of freedom, of opportunity, place where I can be free and I can be myself.
Firstly, Senora Allison Dennison. She left America to go to Mexico due to a missionary trip, and was the main translator for the trip, which she was perfect for as she had a distinct love for Mexican culture. She would later move back to America due to the dangers presented in Mexico, as well as her love for her family and wanting to take care of her elderly parents.
Hola, I'm Senora Dennison, a teacher here at Jackson High School.
What was your purpose for emigrating to Mexico?
So I went for a period of time to work with a group that worked with poor people. My primary role was actually as a translator and to experience the culture and to make sure people were getting help. And then because it was a religious organization, we had some religious activities as well.
When did you emigrate to Mexico?
It was the summer after my freshman year in college, I think. So I was 19.
What was the biggest emotional burden when emigrating?
And remember, this is really pre-email, easy access to internet, and where, Mexico, I was living in a true area of Mexico, like not America. So for me, it was not being able to talk to my parents, not being able to communicate with them. And so I remember I bought a phone card and we had set times pre-planned out before I went that I would find the payphone, you put this card in, and I'd call, and it'd be very short periods of time. So that was the hardest part.
After emigrating to Mexico and back to America, how did your perception of life change along with the customs?
Yeah, and I'll never forget when I got to the Atlanta airport. All of a sudden I was like, I'm just hearing English. I'm not hearing Spanish. And I went to get money out of the ATM, and it was like my brain stopped working. I couldn't read it because it was in English, my first language. And I just remember feeling very disoriented and confused. So that was like the initial reaction. And switching my brain back to English took a few days. And then as far as customs go, we're not as friendly. And the Midwest is pretty friendly. However, the idea of welcoming and generosity in Mexico, if you compliment someone on something, at least when I was there, they would give it to you, because that idea of just generosity, embracing and hugging and touching people. Men walk around arm in arm, hugging, women do it, because it's just this joyful, affectionate people. And we're not like that. We're pretty uptight. myself included. But I love that part of their culture.
What did it take to get you over the edge to leave everything and emigrate twice?
Well, so to go the first time, I wanted to live there. Like in my mind, this was like prepping me, I'm gonna move. But what pushed me over the edge to stay in America would be safety concerns. But what's kept us here is a commitment to our family and aging parents, and we just feel a responsibility as a family that it's not always about our desires. We need to think about our family.
So the main thing that was really keeping you in America and not living in Mexico was safety and your love for family.
And again, I just want to stress, most Mexicans are safe, wonderful people, even though the ones in poverty, but it's the cartels that have taken over, and it's the drugs. So again, the drugs that the Mexicans aren't taking, that they're sending to America. So I want to just stress that while personally right now I wouldn't go to Mexico, the hope is that at some point I'll get to Mexico DF, which is the capital, and get to see these places. But it's just, sadly, there's so much corruption.
Moving on from Senora Dennison, our next person immigrated from America to Australia. Australia is one of the most unique countries in the world, with a diverse wildlife attributed to its isolated nature of the island country. Even with its exotic and dangerous wildlife, humans have been able to settle this barren desert, with a population of over 25 million according to the United States Census Bureau. Most of these citizens, however, live on the coast due to the hostile environment of Australia. We interviewed John Girdlestone to give his perspective on the experience of immigrating. What is your personal background while you were in the USA, and how did you move to Australia?
I was born in Melbourne, a suburb of Moonee Ponds, and when I was about 7 years old, my dad got a transfer to work for the Hoover Company in Canton, Ohio, and we moved there. And while we were there, he naturalized and became a U.S. citizen along with my mom.
Why did you move to Australia?
I wanted something new, something different, and I'd done a year of high school in Australia, and Australia suited me quite well because we've got family here. And I came to Melbourne and I really enjoyed my year here. So after university, I thought, yeah, this is the place to go.
How did you adapt to your new location / society when you immigrated to Australia?
I was fortunate enough when I transferred over here, I had a job with Ernst & Young, so that part was good. And we also had some family here that got me a rough idea, I got to meet some people and get to talk to about some places to go, etc. That being said, I intentionally did not buy a television for about the first 2 years, because if I was in a new country, I realized I had to make a concerted effort to get out of my shell, meet different people, and see what was out in this big city and big surrounding area. So yeah, I just made an effort of it. It was a little scary at times, 100%, but at the same time, you talk to people, you understand what's safe to do, what's not safe to do. Be a bit bold, also be a bit resilient when things don't work out like you hope they will. But yeah, eventually we kind of build up a network of friends again, and etc. It all kind of works out.
For me, it was fairly straightforward because I'd had the 1 year here when I was still in high school. So I knew a couple of people my own age, and it's always really, really much easier to make friends in high school than it is outside of a classroom.
What emotional burdens did you carry when you were going to Australia? Did you miss anyone, etc.?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, you definitely miss your family, and so yeah, you miss the people. I mean, food also, I think, would be another part where there's certain things that, I didn't get it, it's not quite the same, like Mexican food, certain type of comfort food are just very difficult to find or way more expensive. But at the same time, be willing to try new things, because there's, a whole different side of the world here, and things that you can try that you might like even better, but you just got to be open to that and give it, you'll find a lot of stuff you don't like till you find something you really do, but just be open with it and stick with it. Yeah.
Lastly, we have Alana Hutt. She immigrated from Ukraine to America, leaving Ukraine for an opportunity of freedom in America. She was born in Kiev, Ukraine, while the nation was still part of the Soviet Union. She will be explaining the troubles and challenges of having to immigrate.
My name is Alana Haut, and I was born in Kiev, Ukraine.
What motivated you to immigrate from Ukraine?
I was born in Ukraine at the time Ukraine was part of the Soviet Union, and all my childhood and most of my young adult life was there. It wasn't a free country. It wasn't a country where I could have been myself for a number of reasons, for religious reasons, for cultural reasons, and others. And I wanted to be in a place where I can be truly who I am, and that is why I decided to come to the United States.
When did you arrive in the United States?
I will never forget that day. It was October 10, 1994.
Why was the United States the place you wanted to end up?
I always thought and still think to this day that the United States is the best place on earth. We had distant family members who immigrated from the former Soviet Union to the United States in the early 70s. So by the time I arrived in the 90s, they've been in the country for 20 years and they welcomed us.
How did you adapt to a new life and a new society?
It is a challenging process and you have to take it day by day. You get up every day and you put one foot in front of the other and you move on with your life. I thought education was very important. Even though I already had an education from the former Soviet Union, I felt very strongly that I need to go back to school, and I went to school. I received a master's degree in business administration, which opened a lot of opportunities for me, and my adaptation to the American life was through education and work.
What was the biggest emotional challenge when immigrating from Ukraine to the United States?
The whole process is very emotional. You leave your life behind. Your friends, my family members at the time were already not in Ukraine. They left and they were in different countries all over the world. But I had friends and I had lots of memories. I had my books, my films, my plays, shows, all that was left behind. And that is the sad part. But I was looking forward to the future, and I thought that the United States will open new opportunities to create new friendships and new emotional connections. And the United States did not let me down.
After immigrating to the United States, what are some major differences in the society from Ukraine?
I found Americans to be very open and very welcoming. Early during my time in the United States, people were asking me, where did I come from? And I would say, well, I came from Ukraine, from the former Soviet Union, and people would always say, welcome, we're glad you're here. That was very refreshing. Nobody looked down at me. People were very supportive at work, at school. Everybody was very warm.
Thank you.
After all the research we have conducted, we have come to the conclusion that the reason why people immigrate is based not only on the opportunity a person can achieve in a different country, but also the circumstances one might find themselves in, which would result in someone leaving everything to find a new home. These opportunities may differ for each person. However, the opportunity is a strong enough incentive for why someone might leave their home, their family, their country, and everything they know and love in order to secure a brighter future for themselves.